Okay, now we will see, we have seen what are the forcing functions and what is the properties of transform. Now we will start with the concepts of applications. Now whatever we have discussed, the basics, will apply to the different functions. Now we will see how a first order system responds, that is response of first order system. Response of a first order system. Okay, basically we will consider the best example of first order type is mercury thermometer. So for this mercury thermometer we will determine the transfer function. Our aim of it is to determine the transfer function of the first order type system. The transfer function, what is transfer function? Transfer function is nothing but the ratio of, it is defined as the ratio of output response of the input response. The ratio of output response to that of the input response is given as transfer function, or is known as transfer function. Okay, so before we start the derivation, we will have to take certain assumptions and parameters. So first, basically we will consider a mercury in glass thermometer. Mercury thermometer will be considering. Okay, mercury thermometer. Which is the bulb or the bulb of the thermometer is filled with the mercury. This is the glass wall. And here you have your fluid temperatures. Fluid temperature. Okay. Now, the main you have, before we go with the derivation of the transfer function, we have major three assumptions to be made. Three assumptions to be made. The first assumption, all the resistance to the heat transfer resides in the film surrounding the bulb. All resistances to heat transfer resides in the film surrounding the fluid. Whatever the resistance that is offered to the heat transfer is only due to the film which is surrounding the bulb. The resistances that is provided to heat transfer is only because of the fluid surrounding the bulb. Okay. That is nothing but all resistances to heat transfer resides in the film surrounding the fluid or the film surrounding the bulb. And all thermal capacities is in mercury. Whatever thermal changes, the thermal capacity is all in mercury only. The thermal changes or the changes that is occurring is only in the mercury, not in the fluid what has been tested. There will be no change in the fluid that has been tested. It is only the mercury that responds. That is all the thermal capacities in the mercury. At any instant, mercury assumes uniform temperature. Mercury at any instant of time, any time you take, mercury will assume uniform temperature. And the glass does not expand or contract during the response. And whenever you are giving this thermometer in contact with any fluid or anything, the glass wall that is there, the glass will neither expand nor contract during the response. So these are the three assumptions. That is, all the resistances to heat transfer resides surrounding the bulb, and all the thermal capacities, whatever thermal changes that takes place, are in only mercury, and always the mercury will assume uniform temperature. And the glass which is with which it is covered, the glass wall, will neither expand nor contract during the process. There will be no change in the glass compositions. Okay, right? So now let us begin with the derivation of transfer function. Right, first one. For the in the mercury bulb, what is the input? So what do you write for deriving the transfer function? First you will write the energy balance equation. First energy balance equation will be written. So that is nothing but energy in minus energy out. Energy inlet at minus energy outlet is equal to energy accumulated. This is your energy balance equation, right? So at unsteady state, the energy inlet, what is energy here? It is enthalpy, HAX minus HAY, where A is area of the film, area of the thermometer, area of the bulb. H is the film heat transfer coefficient. Is equal to d by dt. What is accumulated? Accumulated is MCP delta T, right? Accumulated MCP delta T. So MCP delta T. So it is unsteady state HAX minus HAY is equal to M and C are constant. So M into C dy by dt. And at steady state HAX minus HAY is equal to MC dYs by dt at steady state. XS YS at steady state, right? Which is generally 0. Accumulation steady state will be 0, right? Generally 0. So now this you consider as first and this you consider as equation 2. Subtracting those two equations you get HA into XS minus X minus YS minus Y minus YS minus Y, sorry, minus Y minus YS, right? Right. 2 minus 1, So X minus XS, Y minus YS is equal to M C D of YS minus Y by dt. YS minus Y by dt. Now 1 minus, y minus y, it's right, 1 minus 1. So you will now consider deviation variables. Considering deviation variables, let this x minus xs is equal to capital X and y minus ys is capital Y. Up till here we will discuss once again. So in this transfer function, in this transfer function, first we have to determine, you have to write the energy balance equation. So thermometer means what is the energy? Heat, it is in the form of heat, right? So energy balance for heat, it is, you take input, you take this as output, let us take. Okay, this is like output and input case. X is your input, Y is your output. You have to determine Y of S by X of S. So inlet, whatever is your reading, HA. So where X is nothing but heat transfer coefficient, watt per meter square Kelvin. heat transfer coefficient. This is your area, meter square. This is your input temperature. So heat watts, right? So heat transfer coefficient into A into Y, and that is also equal to mCp delta T. mCp delta T. So you will write this for unsteady state and steady state cases. So input X is your X at input temperature, Y is your output temperature. mCp delta T, let the Cp dt. mCp dt, which is nothing but dy by dt accumulated inside. Now the same you will write for steady state. HAXS minus HAYS is equal to MC dy by dys by dt. Now from unsteady state and steady state equation you subtract 1 minus 2. You get HA into X minus XS minus Y minus YS is equal to MC dy minus YS by dt. So now you will consider this deviation variables we generally say. You are just assuming that X minus XS is capital X, Y minus YS is capital Y. We call them as deviation variables. Deviation variables. So now this equation becomes. So how can you write this equation? HA into X minus Y is equal to M into C into D capital Y by dt, right? So you take X minus Y by is equal to MC by HA is equal to dy by dt. This MC by HA is taken as tau. Mass, Cp, heat transfer coefficient, area. If you write the units, you will get, if you write their individual units and solve for the units, you will get it in minutes. So therefore you are taking it as tau, which is your, tau is nothing but the time constant for the time, it is taken as time constant. You substitute the values, units of this and solve, you will get tau in minutes. Okay, that is your time constant. So X minus Y is equal, X minus capital Y is equal to tau into D capital Y by dt. Now, as usual, now you will apply Laplace transform. Now you will apply Laplace transform for the given function. So X of S minus Y of S is equal to tau into dy by dt. Laplace transform of this is S into Y of S minus Y of 0. What is capital Y? Y minus Ys. That means Y of 0. At initial condition, Y will be equal to Ys only. At initial condition, Y will be equal to Ys. Right? So, initial condition, your Y value and Ys value will be the same because your starting point is same at steady state, or when you start, your initial values are same. When there is no at initial time, your starting temperature as well as the steady state temperature is same because your performance, your calculations begins when the system is becoming steady, right? Whenever you are performing an experiment in your lab, in your CRE lab, your example, you will take the values once the flow becomes steady or once the value becomes steady. So at initial value, your steady state and initial value will be the same. So Y and Ys are same. So Y minus Ys. So therefore you get Y of 0 as 0. Is this clear? Initially Y and Ys will be the same. Steady state value and your initial value will be same at initial calculation. Is it right or wrong? You perform it in your labs. So this value is 0. So therefore what is remaining? X of S is equal Y of S is equal to tau into S into Y of S. So taking Y of S down that side, X of S is equal to 1 plus tau S into Y of S. X of S by 12. Output response to that of input response is given as 1 by 1 plus tau S. So this is your transfer function. This is the transfer function for the first order type response. for the first order type response, this is given as your transfer function. This is given as the transfer function. So once again we will see first in this mercury, we will take a mercury glass thermometer. You will maintain certain assumptions. What is the first assumption? First assumption is all the resistance to the heat transfer resides the film surrounding the bulb. Second one, all the thermal capacities is within the mercury, and the mercury always assumes uniform temperature. And the third thing is, what is the third assumption? The third assumption is the glass wall, whatever the glass material which your it is coated, it is protected, that will neither contract nor expand during the response or during the process. Okay. Now your first step, you have to write the energy balance equations. Energy balance equation. So as you are using thermometer, your energy will be in terms of heat. So you will take HA into X is your input, and H into Y is your output. Why HA into Y? H is nothing but heat transfer coefficient, watt per meter square Kelvin, into area, which is meter square, into input is in Kelvin. So Kelvin, meter square cancels watt. So it is your heat. And EMCP delta T is also units of joule. You might get in kilojoules per hour or joules per hour. Because this is flow rate, right? You will have it in kg per second or certain value it might be. So kg, joules per hour you might get, so watt. Right? So MCP delta joules per hour or kilojoules per hour. So it is watt or kilowatts. It is also in terms of heat. So therefore you use HAX and HAY as input and output. That energy balance equation you will write for unsteady state, steady state. You will subtract them. You will consider deviation variables. After considering deviation variables, at initial stage, your output, initially your output at y of 0, your output will be 0. Why? Because initially when you calculate certain value, your steady state output and your initial output will be the same. Right? Initial output, and as usual, as your process begins in your labs also, whenever you see, when you are performing an experiment, you take immediately after it is reaching a steady state value, right? So after your steady state value, first value whatever you get, that value, that output and your steady state value will be the same, because initially when it became steady only you took the value. So as soon as you are getting it, as soon as the system is getting a steady state, you are taking the values. Your first value will be equal to that of the steady state value. Hence your y will be equal to ys at your initial state. So it will be 0. Then you will apply Laplace transform and you get y of s by x of s, which is 1 by tau s plus 1 for the first order type system.